was the BBC and how they have been reflecting on some of the things that Nigel Farage had to say. Listen.
About the wave of, and I'm using his words, not mine, aggressive young males that are coming into Poland, having crossed the Mediterranean, and he has said that this is now a matter of national security.
Nigel Farage with his customary inflammatory language there at a Reform UK press conference. He declined to stand for a seat, but we will have more.
How ridiculous. It wasn't even his words, by the way. He already just said he was directly quoting somebody else. Bill, what do you think to all that? Well, they had to apologise as well, sorry.
I may surprise you because I disagree with about 95% of what Nigel Farage says, but I think the BBC broke the Ofcom editorial guidelines by making that statement today. I welcome the fact that she's rectified it by, making the apology. Interestingly, she's Krishnan and Guru Murphy's sister, and the family have form on making these incendiary statements about politicians.
I remember a C word.
Yes.
I won't tell you what that C word is, ladies and gents, because it's tea time and I don't want to curl your hair, but you might remember that comment that Bill's referring to. What did you make to that?
It was clearly a breach. I'm glad she's apologised. She shouldn't have thought it, let alone said it. He did make it exceptionally clear that he was quoting, I believe, Donald Tusk, who is so far from being a Brexiteer Little Englander as you could possibly get. And I think he was demonstrating how broad the fears on this subject are, not quoting himself.
Yeah, we've had a bit of this, haven't we? Because I recall, for example, the Reform Party being described as far right, and an apology had to be issued on that. I remember watching a press conference where they had the union flags up, and one of the commentators on Sky, I think it was basically saying, oh, look, here we go. They've got their flags up, read into that what you will. It's just, to me, it's almost like a snobbery. The words far right have just become so meaningless. They're just chucked around like confetti anyway, so they're meaningless now, those words.
I completely agree, and worse than far right is thrown about for nonsensical reasons as well, that people on the right of politics are regularly called Nazis, though they would have the polar opposite beliefs to the very awful Nazi party. I think the media has a tendency to be part of the London metropolitan elite, and they don't actually know what's going on in the rest of the country or how people are thinking.
Do you know, I think there's abuse on both sides. So there is abuse of people on the right. There's certainly abuse of people on the left. And I'm a passionate believer in free speech and open debate. And the broadcasting regulations need to enable that to happen. And it needs, particularly in an election campaign, broadcasters who don't overstep the mark by criticising individual politicians. That happened today and it was wrong.
Well, yeah, but it's also just very embarrassing because, like, literally hours or so later, then they come out with their apology and it just undermines you going forward, makes people think that you're slightly more ridiculous. I'll tell you something else that caught my eye that was ridiculous as well. Ed Davey on the campaign trail today. I have never been a political advisor in all my life. It might not surprise you to learn. But if I was, I really think that I would be able to advise candidates, etc., not to do stupid things like this. Watch.
Okay. I'm enjoying this, honestly. Two down.
I mean, I've just got no words. It's absolutely ridiculous and embarrassing. We can grow up, get your suit on, get in your office and start communicating properly. And I can tell you what, there'll be a lot of victims of the post office scandal that won't be feeling sad at